Hey everyone, back tuning into today's video. It's the January month ahead broadcast. Today, going to have a detailed look at some of the longer range models, see what they're showing for the coming month, for January 2014, and then I'll come to my own conclusion about what I think is going to happen through the course of the month. I may agree with the seasonal models, or I may sort of change things a little bit. We'll see as we get to the end of the video. Now, before I get on with that, I just want to talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my pages at GazWeatherVids.com. If you hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GazWeatherVids.com. And thanks very much for doing that. It does make a big difference to the website, so yeah, do please play the video ads if you get the chance. So we're going to start off with the sea level pressure anomalies for the Northern Hemisphere from the Korean model, first of all. And this broke down, I think, into 10-day periods. So I've got the middle of January and late January here. The blue colours, below average pressure in terms of sea level pressure. The red and orange colours, that's what I've got above average pressure in terms of sea level pressure. So this is British Isles just here, and for the middle of January we see that we're under an anomalous area of below average pressure, low pressure, very much dominating around British Isles, as indeed it is most of Europe as well, and going to the north of the country. The high pressure, the red colours all out in the Atlantic. So that's a very unsettled looking middle part of January, if that's right. Could be a little bit on the chillier side as well. The jet stream may be tracking more to the south with that, so it could be on the cold side of the jet stream, but it is certainly very, very unsettled. There'll be lots of heavy rain and maybe some wintry conditions at times in the north in particular. Now, as we go through to late January, which I assume is taking us somewhere around the 20th to the 31st January, something like that, we see the blue colours are moving up to the north of the country. So we've got the low pressure shifting north, and we've got this big area of red developing around the British Isles and to the south of the country. That's an anomalous area of high pressure building up from the south. So if that's right, the latter stage of January will be turning a lot drier. Probably also turning a good deal milder, because the jet stream around that high pressure would be shifting north. So be on the mild side of the jet stream will be going to the north of the country. That's potentially quite a mild, dry, almost spring-like type scenario, I think, for the latter stage of January. So a cooler, unsettled middle part of January, and then a drier, milder latter stage of January from the Korean model. 700 millibar height anomalies from the CFS version 2 model next. This is for the month of January, and very clear what's going on here. An anomalous trough of low pressure sitting around and to west of the British Isles, high pressure down to the south. Got a strong jet stream blowing across the Atlantic. That is very, very unsettled, a very unsettled 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS version 2 model for the United Kingdom. Would be a proper wet and windy, very unsettled month, if that's correct. Now, with a strong westerly jet stream and an anomalous area of low pressure around to west of the country, you would expect a mild Atlantic-driven month, a mild month, and indeed the temperature anomaly for the United Kingdom showing temperatures above average. And look how mild it is across virtually the whole of Europe. There's no blue in there at all. The whole of Europe having a very, very mild January, if that is correct. Again, not a surprise, because we've got that strong westerly jet stream blowing through across the country. In terms of the precipitation anomaly for January, it's going for a wetter than average month there for the British Isles and for Ireland, for most of Western Europe as well. France, Germany, Spain, Portugal are all having quite a wet month. You have to go to the east to find those drier than average areas, but generally a very dry month being signalled just about for the whole of East Europe. Very wet month being signalled for many western parts of Europe. Notice for Norway, a little bit interesting, just highlighting Norway there. We are dry than average. That could be indicating some sort of high pressure around Norway, around Scandinavia. But to the east of that, across much of Finland, Sweden, Latvia, those sort of areas, we are wetter than average. So it's hard to say what's going on with that, to be honest. But the CFS model definitely indicating a very strong westerly jet stream and an unsettled month. For January, the Beijing Climate Centre 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into 10-day periods. This is for the 10-day period, taking us from the 11th to the 20th of January, we see below average heights there for the British Isles. High pressure is out in the Atlantic. So a pattern is definitely emerging here, which is a very unsettled January. A strong westerly jet stream is coming across the Atlantic into the British Isles and into much of Western Europe as well. That is a wet, windy, unsettled signal for the middle part of the month. A little bit different as we go through to the final 10 days, the 21st to the 30th of January. Then we start getting this area of above average heights developing around the country, that orange area. And that extends in, if we go over this side of the chart, that extends in, I think, from Scandinavia. So there is the indication there from the Beijing Climate Centre that the final 10 days could see an area of high pressure building over Scandinavia and turning it a good deal drier, possibly also a lot colder as well. It would depend on the exact wind direction. If winds are more southerly, then it wouldn't be desperately cold, but if winds are easterly, then yeah, we could very much in theory have quite a cold final 10 days of the month to January. So that's a little bit interesting, a little bit different from the Beijing Climate Centre there. And then finally have a look at the charts from the JMA model. Of course, I have a look at the JMA model every week on a Friday, JMA Friday, and today's no exception. We've got the update from the JMA, the Japanese model today. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. So its first week period will be taking us from the 2nd to the 9th of January, the week that we're currently in. We're upside down, but there's the British Isles just there, and again it's very clear what's happening here. We've got this deep trough of low pressure around and to the west of the country. The blue colours below average heights, so that is low pressure. Red, yellow, orange, that's above average heights, high pressure. So quite obviously we're in a we're under a very deep trough of low pressure, very unsettled, with low pressure dominating and a strong westerly jet stream blasting across the Atlantic as it has done for most of December. Now, as we move through to the second week of January, we find a little bit of a change taking place then, and the JMA model has been sort of indicating this for a while, which is that the trough of low pressure, the below average height, starts to shift more to the south and to the southwest of the country. We get this yellow area appearing to the east and to the northeast. That is above average heights. That's a battleground type scenario going on there from the JMA model for the 9th to the 16th of January. We've got westerly winds trying to come in around that trough of low pressure, but this high pressure, the above average heights to the east and the northeast, will probably be trying to bring in some sort of east or southeasterly influence. Now, we could have weather fronts strung out in that, so it could be quite a wet scenario. It could also, if that easterly starts bringing colder air, that continental air starts turning colder, it could also turn a little bit more wintry. So that's signs of a change around the middle of January from the JMA model. Finally, then going on to the 3rd and 4th weeks, which takes us to the end of January, the 16th to the 30th, and it's very similar, really, where high pressure is shifting further north, though. It's heading up towards Iceland and to parts of Greenland as well. Still a little bit over Scandinavia, but we've got the trough of low pressure still generally centred to the west of the country. I think with that we would probably be getting more sort of northerly influences, if anything, and possibly northeasterly or easterly influences as well. So that could be quite a cold second half to January, actually, from the JMA model, and it could be sort of in line with what the Beijing Climate Centre was signalling as well, that final 10 days of the month. So the CFS doesn't show much wintry at all going on. The Korean model shows it actually turning milder and drier through the latter stages of January. But the JMA and the Beijing Climate Centre sort of hinting that things could turn colder and more wintry as we progress through the month, particularly getting towards the end of the month. And that's sort of what the generic charts are hinting at. I'll just show you the latest run from the GFS model, which is very keen to build heights, to build high pressure to the east and the northeast of the country. And eventually we finish up in this easterly flow as we get through towards the 15th of January, the middle of the month. We are seeing indicators that we could get some sort of easterly starting to come in around that area of high pressure building over Scandinavia. And you have to say that the Beijing Climate Centre and the JMA model are both sort of hinting at that possibility. Maybe not as early as that, but a little bit later in the month. Although I think the JMA probably is about there actually, with its prediction from the 9th to the 16th. So it's quite a complicated month, this. We're starting off very unsettled, very Atlantic driven, and certainly if you take the CFS on face value, that's what we're going to have throughout the whole of the month. But I do wonder how much some of these seasonal models, particularly the CFS model, is being influenced by the current pattern, and whether these models, particularly the CFS model, is really seeing the potential for a change through the middle of that stage of the month. So what I'm going to say is what happens is that we're going to start off very unsettled for the first 10 days. Certainly lots of heavy rain, strong winds, gales, and it will be quite mild. But as we go through the month, it will see a progression, a gradual progression probably, but a progression to drier and colder conditions. And at some point, probably in the final 10 days, it could get really quite cold. I think it could be cold enough for some fairly widespread wintry weather. Not going to predict countrywide blizzards, but I think certainly some wintry weather could be on the way in the second half of January this month. Probably progressing back to milder conditions right at the end of the month and going into February, but that's very speculative, and I don't want to talk too much about that at the moment. But the prediction anyway is for probably near average temperatures overall, once you average it all out, but a mild unsettled start, becoming a lot colder, or becoming colder anyway, from the middle of the month, going through to the latter stage of the month, when I think we could get some fairly widespread wintry conditions at some point through that final sort of 10-day period. So it's going to be an interesting month. This is a complicated one to call. It'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. That's the prediction from Gauss Weather. There's near average temperatures, starting off mild, ending up quite cold. And in terms of precipitation, by the way, probably coming out near normal again. Very wet start, but then drier with that colder phase. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.